Akira is a 31-year-old lonely, brain-rotted weirdo nerd who has literally absolutely nothing to his name, wearing crusty old socks and sleeps with anime body pillows, just like all of you. He lives all on his own because his mom was too fat to fit in her passport photo, so the government deported her while his father went out somewhere and never returned, and they already had milk in the fridge, so he left Akira for something else entirely. But one night, his miserable life completely changed when he got isekai'd to another world and became the infamous demon lord with crazy OP abilities and enough riz to create a harem of his own while defeating all S-tier ranked monsters using just a single attack. The anime begins with our main protagonist, named Akira, a professional gamer and programmer who has rose to fame for creating his own survival and battle royale game, called Infinity Online. He's known as the best player in the game, who is dressed as a mighty demon lord mob boss, and as the admin of the game, he has infinite leveling up power. But now, after 15 years of online fame, he was so bored of being a dumb little brokey. So we see Akira staring at his gaming monitor, as it was time for him to close down the servers forever and to put it all to rest once and for all. So after putting aside his used tissues and the bottle of lotion, Akira looks at his computer screen to wait for the server closing countdown to hit 0, thinking about all the good times he had developing the game and presses enter. But when it hits 0, we find out that Truck-kun has actually hacked his computer and isekais his to another world. A bright light flashes and he finds himself flying through a portal with a woman's voice telling him something that doesn't make any sense. After this, he opens his eyes and wakes up in a massive forest with a lot of greenery surrounding him, so he instantly knew something was wrong, because bro has never been outside before. He's also impressed by his drip, looking like a top G mafia boss, and wonders where the hell he got all these clothes from. So he gets up to look at himself in the water's reflection nearby, and to his surprise, he's now inside the body of his Infinity Online's game character, the Demon Lord mob boss named Kunai, and is super because he wanted to leave the game behind, but now he's forced to be his online character stuck in this brain-rotted dweeby world with no escape. He starts freaking out and wonders why he is in the body of this old Demon Lord man, and checks his coat to see if he actually has a bunch of hidden knives strapped inside just like the character he designed. He then wonders if he is in his own game and shouts administrator privileges, and a screen opens up in front of him. He enters the password and hopes to log out of it, but the screen shows that he doesn't meet the requirements to access all the features. Seeing this, Akira says that he will worry about it later and starts getting high on some weed while mumbling that he should have watched more anime recaps so he would know what to do in such situations. Just then, he notices a small yellow-haired girl walk up behind him and reveals that he is a big fan of Dr. Disrespect. He asks her if she is a furry or understands human language and asks who she was running away from. Just then, a massive monster jumps in front of him with its big giant. Akira says that he doesn't remember designing such a monster and asks the girl if it's her pet, but then the monster attacks him, which makes him so mad that he one-shots him using his special knife attack and sends it back to hell. He thinks that the same goes for the girl and wonders if this is a different world than his game. On the other hand, after seeing him one-shot the massive demon, the girl falls on her knees and begs him not to eat her out while calling him the Demon Lord Sama. Akira tells her that he's just a normal guy and that he's not interested in ruining his life yet, so he will pass the offer. He then asks her about the demon and she says that its name was Gerald and it was a strong demon who was sealed under the local ruins. She then introduces herself as Aku and reveals that they are currently in the Kingdom of Holy Light, where people worship the Holy Cherub. She also tells her that the Great Cherub was the one who sealed the demon he just defeated and that they head the Holy Church which rules this kingdom. Akira thinks that this is all crap straight out of his world and wonders why he was summoned here. He wonders if Kunai was the one summoned and perhaps he got dragged along for some reason, but decides to think about it more later. He then tells her to clean herself and gets her some soap and towels from the item shop using his administrator screen, which costs him 5 skill points. This leaves him with 40 points to spare, and he wonders how he is going to earn more points as they are needed to upgrade all his skills and abilities just like in the Infinity game. He then asks Aku if she knows where the demon was sealed, and she tells him that it was sealed in the wishing shrine that is located near this forest. Akira looks at her broken shoe and tells her to hop on his back and guide him to the shrine. She tells him that she can't let her filthy self touch him, but he tells her that it's fine and lets her on. This makes her really sentimental, and she tells him that she is an unwanted kid who tried her best to make everyone pleased with her. In her village, she used to work as a waste management worker, but it led to people calling her smelly and disgusting, and they kept their distance from her. and when the demon asked them for a sacrifice, they all pushed her out of the village to save their own rears. Hearing all this, Akira says that she's not dirty and that her villagers are just a bunch of narcissistic racists, and thanks her for her help. With that, they reach the shrine and Akira instantly notices the smell of death coming from inside. He tells Aku to wait for him outside and goes in to find a bunch of dead bodies lying on the floor in front of a statue sitting in front of them. The statue starts speaking and tells Akira that she has granted a lot of wishes so far, but this will be the last one. Akira asks her if she was the one who summoned him here, and she says that it was the wish of the occult people that lay around him as they ask for the demon lord to be summoned. He then asks her if she was the one who summoned the other demon as well, but she reveals that it broke out on its own and tried to stop the summoning by killing these people. After that, it went on to reside in the nearby forest and asked for sacrifices from the villagers. Hearing this, Akira asks her if she can send him back, but she says that it would go against the other wish that she granted, so she can't do that, but as it's her last hour, she will grant him her ring, and with that she turns to dust and goes away. He looks at the skull ring and says that he's not some MOE, but with the statue gone, he decides to walk out of there and starts figuring out his next move. He asks Aku for nearby cities and requests her to draw a map for him, but Aku asks him if he doesn't want her to come with him as she can't return to her village now. He thinks about it for a bit but then remembers that there is no FBI in this world and lets her join his party. After that, they go to Aku's village so she can pick her stuff up, but when they go there, Akira watches Aku getting discriminated against by the villagers. He starts getting dark thoughts about destruction caused by his ring, but he fights it back and jumps in to save Aku. He then smokes some cancer and sets one of the villagers' houses on fire as punishment and runs away with Aku on his back. He uses some talk no jutsu and helps her cheer up, and they both start heading towards the holy capital to start their new life. While passing through a canyon, they decide to take a break and Akira pulls out a couple of magic item boxes that fuse together to summon a full base. He explains that these are super sturdy save points in the game that were the only way of staying alive while being a FK. He then walks in with Aku and they take a bath before heading to bed, while Akira says that he will one day build a full-on resort and castle for them to live in. On their way, they get ambushed by a group of bandits who seem to be waiting for one of the holy maidens of this kingdom, Luna, to pass through their territory. At first, they think that Aku and Akira must be a bait set up by the Holy Maiden, but they decide to attack them anyways in hopes of asserting their dominance in this region. They launch a surprise attack with some spears and arrows, but Akira blocks all their attacks with an automatic barrier spell. He thinks that in the game, one must had to be at the max level of 30 to be able to do any sort of damage to kunai, so it must mean that these bandits are just some low-level fodder. He calls them out and ends up meeting their leader, Owengel, who coincidentally looks similar to his manager at work back in the real world. They both get into an argument about who looks older, but it comes to a quick end when Luna arrives on the spot with her knights and breaks them apart with a light magic spell. Akira notices that her attacks actually reached him, meaning she must be at least at the max level, and asks her if she will be apologizing to him for attacking him willy-nilly. She says that she can do anything to get rid of evil forces as she is one of the holy maidens, but Akira doesn't like her stuck-up attitude and decides to give her some good old spanking as punishment. In the end, she ends up offering him all of her money in exchange for letting her pumpkins go and gets out of there. After that, Akira decides to go to a nearby city called Yahoo.com with Aku to spend all this money they just got, and he books a fancy room in a hotel called Google.com for a gold coin before going out to do some shopping with her. He takes her to a boutique called Amazon.com and gets her a really cute dress for a large gold coin while wondering what was up with these names. Meanwhile, seeing the massive coin makes the store owner into his obedient pig willing to do anything to earn his favor. The guy gets Aku dressed up like a princess and Akira notices that she actually has different colored eyes. Pleased with her looks, he decides to buy everything in the shop and then takes her out for a fancy dinner. Feeling so well treated for the first time in her life, Aku asks Akira why he is so nice to her and if there's something that she can do for him. She says that she will do anything, which makes Akira surprised, and he also starts wondering why he's simping for her like Leonardo DiCaprio. Just then, Luna kicks the door open and walks in like a maniac, shouting she finally found him. It turns out she sent her men back to the capital as she didn't want to make her sisters worry about her, but now she has no money on her and doesn't know where she will spend the night. Akira invites her to join them for dinner and apologies to the other guests at the restaurant by buying them all a bottle of wine like some giga-rich alpha male. After that, he goes back to his hotel room with Aku and even carries her princess style to keep her feet from getting bruised. It looks like he will finally become a man tonight, but then their sweet little escapade gets ruined when Luna bangs on their door and says that she would be staying with them as she has nowhere else to go, and as they paid for the room using her money, she should be allowed to stay there as well. Akira looks at her homeless face and tells her to go away, but Aku tells him to be more kind towards her, and he agrees to let her in and also returns her money. Overnight, Luna and Aku get along well while squatting together in the bathroom and develop a sisterly bond. Meanwhile, Akira checks up the features that he can still access from his limited administrator screen and finds out that unlike the game, he can store and hold on to an infinite number of items in his inventory space. He also asks Luna about the cherub as he thinks that he might have to find someone on a similar power level of the statue in the Wishing Shrine if he wants to return to his old world. Luna explains that the cherub died after sealing the Demon King, Grial, under the Wishing Shrine. But the Kingdom of Light still has the Ophan and the Seraph that hold the highest of authorities. However, it has been ages since anyone saw them, so it's more like a legend to the masses now. Some people believe that the wish-granting statue in the Wishing Shrine was the Ophan, but they were just misinformed. On the other hand, we see Luna's elder sister, Queen, riding towards Yahoo City alongside her unit to get her dumb sister back, as she thinks that she's playing childish tricks by saying that there is a demon lord and that she's going to deal with them. The next morning, Akira walks through the city with a cheap teapot that he crafted using his administrator screen and goes to an antique shop. He says that he must first solve the issue of their lack of funds and offers to sell the teapot to the shopkeeper for 1 large coin, and tells him that he must promise him to sell it for not less than 5 large coins in hopes of establishing a favorable relationship with him. He cooks up some BS-filled story about the teapot being an heirloom in his family and blah blah blah, and using the clout he earned from spending so much in the town yesterday, he manages to make the sale. He then walks out and becomes happy about swindling the shopkeeper, but then he hears some barbaric woman shouting in the middle of the town. He walks around to see what it was all about and finds Queen with her unit, calling for her sister and the self-proclaimed demon lord as well. Just then, Luna arrives at the location and asks her sister what she was doing there. Queen tells her to stop playing around and that she should go back and spend her time in her room playing Mario Bros and watching anime recaps, but she says that she has actually charmed the demon lord using her petite rear, and will save this world no matter what. Queen asks her if she was right in her head and when she started doing OnlyFans content, but just before she can answer, a group of robbed men arrive on the spot and launch multiple attack spells at the Holy Maidens. They introduce themselves as a Satanist group called the Walkers, and they seem to be the same people who made the wish of summoning the Demon Lord at the Wishing Shrine. Akira wonders if he will have to jump in, but the sisters decide to show these cannon fodder NPCs that they are not the main characters and start blasting them with a bunch of high-level spell attacks and combos like some Elden Ring boss. But then, one of the occult guys opens a chest filled with his year's worth of saved-up lube, and it starts oozing out and corrupting the world around them. As soon as the dark liquid touches anyone, it absorbs their powers and also weakens the divine protection cast upon them. This makes both the sisters and their men fall on the ground, and it starts looking really bad for them. Akira wonders what he should do in this situation, and his ring starts enticing him to throw some grenades at the people and to blow it all up. It starts draining Akira's power and makes him fall on the ground as well. As the Satanist's fluid approaches him, Akira accesses his administrator screen and sees an option for character change with some text explaining that he won't be able to control it yet. With no other option, he selects it and it transforms him into a white-haired guy who calls himself Zero. Zero seems to have a personality of his own, and as he opens his eyes in this new world, his bright Riz Haki destroys the creeping darkness around them, and he wonders where he even was. He looks around and notices the cult members bullying a couple of girls on the floor and decides to defend them by attacking the Satanists. The Satanists think that he is just another one of the Maiden's gooners and attack him back, but Zero knocks them all down using a special move called Grudge Setting. After that, he starts launching a combo attack using all of his skills and ends the fight using a Dragon Fist attack. On the other side, Queen falls in love with his dashing looks and alpha male genes, and it makes her lose her Yandir character. When Zero turns around to ask if she was alright, Queen starts speaking in a girly fashion, and it makes her unit commander spit out from shock and amusement. Zero tells her his name and says that if she's ever in trouble, she can feel free to ask for his help, and then walks away. On the other hand, the escaped Satanist wonders why a Dragonkin was fighting on the Maiden's side while referring to Zero, who introduced himself as one. Meanwhile, we see Akira back in his kunai form banging his head on a wall in an alleyway as Aku approaches him and asks what he was doing. It turns out, Zero is one of Akira's game characters that he created to play the Infinity game in the real world. While he was not able to control the body in his form, he still remembered everything he said and did as Zero, and it made him cringe so hard that he decided that it would be better for him to just die right there and then. He asks Aku if she saw a white guy passing by here, and she says that she wasn't able to see him but got to know about him from Luna. She asks him if he knew who he was, but Akira says that he didn't, while thinking that he can't ever let anyone know that he and Zero were one and the same. At the same time, we see a couple of B-ranked adventurers named Yukikaze and Mikan sucking on some popsicles while looking at some requests on their guild's job board. They eventually decide to pick up a quest to exterminate sand wolves from an area for 10,000 gold coins, and also notices a new poster sitting on the reception desk showing a request from the Holy Castle awarding 9 billion coins for anyone who brings them this freaky looking guy claimed to be the Demon King. Back in Yahoo, Queen goes back to the capital with her unit, and Luna gets inside a carriage with Aku and Akira, and they start heading towards the Holy Capital as well. On their way, Akira gives Luna a uniform to change into as normal attire, as a holy maiden attracts too much attention. While she changes into it, he walks out of the carriage to smoke some cancer and starts thinking about ways to earn more skill points to unlock more of the features and abilities in the administrator screen. On the other hand, we see the adventurers from earlier walking into a sandstorm to find the wolves. Unfortunately, they end up encountering a massive pack said to be able to destroy even large cities and start running back instead of fighting them. On their way, they pass through Akira and the others and tell them to run away as well, but Akira decides that this is the perfect opportunity for him to farm some points, and he starts walking towards the wolves instead. He blocks their attacks using his automatic barrier, and then blasts them all away using his throwing knives skill, and a sandstorm skill followed by a fire blast that cooks the beasts into medium rare steaks. Okay, breaking the fourth wall, I might be a tad bit hungry while making this video, but let's go back to the story now. After defeating the monsters, Akira walks back like some cool dude and tells the adventurers to be more careful about involving other people with their mess next time before getting inside the carriage and heading straight to the capital. Seeing him, the adventurers realize that he is the Demon King from the bounty poster they saw earlier, and Yukikaze says that they must go to the capital as well so he can offer his body to the Demon Lord. Yes, he's a boy who likes to cross-dress. Back in the carriage, Aku and Luna praise Akira for fighting such a massive pack of sandwolves, and Luna asks Akira for a compliment on her new dress. Later on, they stop by a small pool of water, and Akira summons the base and tells the girls to rest inside. Aku shows Luna around, and Akira notices her limping due to her injured leg. He gives a roll of cancer to the carriage driver and then opens up his admin screen to see that he now has enough skill points to summon one of the 8 aides that serve the Demon Lord, Kanai, in the original game. He feels really excited and starts thinking about who he should summon. He thinks about it for some time and eventually decides upon the genius doctor and mad scientist named Yu, who happens to have a thing for young boys for some reason. He thinks that he will have to be careful around her, as she is a mad woman who has no qualms about slicing someone open just to satisfy her curiosity, but if it comes to it, he would be able to deal with her himself. Other than that, having her genius brain work on developing ways to defend against magical attacks would be a great advantage for him until he farms enough skill points to upgrade his own kit. He then summons her and fills her in on their situation. He tells her that they are not in the game and how he wants her to transform a portion of the base into a hospital. He also forbids her from killing anyone and asks for her suggestions. She says that they will have to create the Nightless City in this world as well to act as their base of operations, and Akira agrees. He explains that the Nightless City was the last area in the Infinity game and was also the home to the Demon Lord, Kanai. If they were to erect such an advanced fortress in this world, it would certainly be known as the Demon Lord's Castle, but he doesn't seem to be against the idea. After that, he calls the other girls out and introduces them to Yu and asks her to heal Aku's leg as well. Yu sits her down and turns her fingers into various medical apparatus before injecting a healing potion into Aku's injured leg and healing her scar as well. This instantly makes Aku's leg good and she starts horsing around out of joy. She thanks Yu and then goes for a walk with Akira, and we find out that she has fallen in love with him because of everything he has done for her so far. After that, they walk back and Akira praises Yu for her help and says that he will be counting on her, and this makes her feel butterflies in her stomach thanks to his alpha male genes and Riz pheromones, and she says that she wants to see this new side of the chief more. With that, they all decide to rest up in the base for the night, and we see Aku develop a special survival skill called heroin in her sleep. The next morning, Akira and the others pass through a small rundown village on their way to the capital. Akira asks Luna about it and she says that it is one of the villages that lies in her territory. She explains that the church looks after her lands and gives her allowance to spend on fulfilling her wishes. She was told that she should stay away from interfering with such worldly matters and that it would be best for everyone if she focuses on her duties as a holy maiden and doing whatever she wants. Looking at the state of the village, Akira quickly realizes that the church is using Luna as a puppet, and he reaffirms this idea with Yu as well. He says that Luna must be one of those French princesses who raises taxes on a whim and says that they should buy cake instead if there's no bread in the stores. He then decides to take advantage of this situation and tells Luna that he would like to borrow a part of this village and says that he would open a hospital run by Yu here alongside a hot spring to attract people from around the kingdom. He also thinks that he can start selling some soaps here as well to have a small business of his own. Luna asks if he would increase her allowance, and he agrees to it before going to the church's representative and telling him to get his rear out of there and to go back to his masters and tell them that Luna has decided to manage her land herself. After that, he goes to talk to some of the locals and finds out that they are a special race of beast people known as bunnies. They were said to be once favored by the cherub, but now they are mostly discriminated against as normal humans don't like subhuman species to mix with them. Akira talks to a couple of farmers and finds out that the local well has dried up and there's no water in the village. The farmers are struggling with growing crops and their soil sucks as well. Considering all this, he decides to pull out a special water drawing well wheel using the admin screen store feature. He then fixes it to the well and surprises everyone by pulling out buckets of clean water from the dry well. He also gives them some bags of fertilizers to help them grow better crops while feeling happy about the fact that all these cheap trash items from the game are so valuable in this world. Seeing him be so kind, Luna tells Akira that he is actually a good person, but he says that there's nothing good about all this and that he is doing it all with a purpose. He explains that he is planning on these bunnies working in the hospital and the hot spring bathhouse that he will be creating, and this is just his way of earning their favor and making them indebted to him. Luna says that she will allow it as it helps her as well, and Akira says that this is just the start of it and he will leave the rest for after they reach the capital. On the other hand, we see Mikan and Yukikaze staying at a tavern to rest during their journey to the capital. Yukikaze is totally in love with Akira and wants to offer him his keyholes while ordering a white creamy drink from the innkeeper. Meanwhile, Mikan warns him to be careful as that guy was able to burn over 300 sand wolves in mere seconds and says that such a strong guy can't be left unchecked like this. At the same time, we see the Satanists returning to their leader and founder, Utopia, and telling him about the dragonkin that made them fail their mission of taking out the holy maidens. Utopia says that they should be more worried about the demon lord who slayed Grial, and then tells his men that they should take the chest with the darkness called Hades to the holy capital and let it out there, as they will destroy the city and assert their dominance by making it consume everything good and bad alike. Back at the holy capital, Luna's eldest sister, Angel, holds a meeting with the Lord and the council members where we see one of the head nobles named Dona commenting on Luna's recent decision to rule her lands herself and saying how they should be careful about the man calling himself Demon Lord, as he might be deceiving the holy maiden and using her for his evil plans. But then the head soldier, Marshall, says that they should be pleased that the holy maiden has taken interest in doing her duties like a true ruler. Angel says that Luna is certainly behaving in an unusual manner, and that she is worried about her little sister, to which Dona says that they should punish the demon lord as according to his men. He is responsible for burning up a village in his territories and he can't be up to any good. But Marshall argues back that they can't punish someone trusted by Luna based on mere rumors, as according to his sources, only a single house was burnt, and he seems to be exaggerating. In the end, Angel says that they should wait and watch how it all unfolds and ends the meeting. Just then, Queen walks in and sits beside Luna feeling all shy. Angel says that she must be really tired from her journey back from Yahoo, and there was that incident with the Satanists and the dragonkin as well. But to her surprise, Queen suddenly speaks up and says that she is in love with that dragonkin. She starts fangirling over Zero like a true degenerate weeb, wishing to buy his bathwater and smelling his socks, and seeing her like this makes Angel freak out as she starts wondering what was wrong with both her sisters, acting all weird recently. A few days later, Akari and the girls reach the capital, and Akari decides to throw a dinner party to celebrate Aku's leg healing up. At the same time, we see Mikan and Yukikaze reaching the city as well, and they see a pair of S-ranked adventurers named Mink and Organ taking interest in the bounty poster of the Demon King, Kanai. On the other hand, Akira and the others enjoy the dinner party at a high-class bar recommended by Luna named Artemis. Akira tells Aku to forget manners and to enjoy her meal, as she is the start of the show tonight, and they all have a good time. After dinner, he walks out and summons a strawberry dessert and tells one of the waiters to bring it to their table as a surprise. The girls really enjoy the foreign dessert and it makes them moan with happiness. But soon this moment is interrupted by a lady who introduces herself as Shrimp-Free Butterfly, making Uncle Roger say heya. In the background, Akira uses his telepathic communication skill to ask Luna who she was, and she explains that this lady is a big hot shot among the wives of the nobles and it would be a bad idea to make an enemy out of her. She is a star and a model who influences the high class in this society and has a lot of connections among the ruling class. Akira says that this means that she will be a valuable ally if he manages to earn her favor and decides to invite her to join them on the table. The lady congratulates Aku on her healing and asks her about the holy capital and how she likes it. After hearing her opinion, she asks about the same from the Demon Lord, and he replies that the capital is indeed like heaven compared to the devastated and poorly managed towns and villages that he came across on his way here. He further adds that he has a solution to this problem and says that if he becomes the ruler of these lands, he would be able to transform the whole kingdom into heaven, but instead of such a boring approach, he has a different idea regarding heaven and summons a bar of soap from his inventory and shows it to the lady. At first, it makes her feel confused and disappointed, but Luna jumps in with a bright smile and says that this is a revolutionary soap that gets rid of all sorts of filth and leaves the skin shining and fragrant. She notes how everyone there had perfectly soft and shiny skin and became intrigued. Akira tells the lady to give it a try tonight and let them know how she likes it and earns her thanks. But he tells her that he has much more planned to make their kingdom into a prosperous land, and shares that he will be constructing a hot spring bath in the Bunnies village which would have medicinal and reviving properties. Anyone who jumps in would have their skin healed and come out looking years younger than before. He butters up the idea for a few minutes and makes Shrimp-Free really excited about it, to the point where she asks Luna to keep it a secret from her sister, Oyster-Free, and says that she would like to be their first customer whenever they open up. Just then, the whole place starts shaking and a waiter walks in announcing that the capital was under attack by the Satanists. Akira thinks that this is the perfect time to spice their dinner party up and jumps out to observe the situation. He says that it looks like a coordinated attack and tells the people there that they don't have to worry about anything as he is there. He tells Aku and Luna to simply enjoy their meals and to stay there as he's going to jump out and burn some extra calories. With that, he gets down and telepathically tells you to keep watch over everyone there and to protect them in his absence. After that, he goes on to beat some Satanists who are attacking Mikan and Yukike's with magic spells. He knocks one of them down using a stone and then starts one-shotting them one by one using a variety of high-class skills and spells. In the end, he summons a massive hammer and pulverizes them into the ground and says that they were simply unlucky to have run into him. Seeing this, one of the Satanists cuts his hand and offers his and his fallen companions' bodies to summon a mid-level demon named Carnival. As soon as it gets summoned, it starts acting like a high and mighty loser and traps everyone in a barrier zone. With that, he starts his monologue about how he will eat them all and blah blah blah, but Akira gets tired of his BS and breaks one of his horns using a piece of rock. After that, he dominates him using his alpha male haki and makes him sweat his pants before throwing him up into the air and blasting him into fireworks. Seeing this makes everyone in the city gather around him and praise him as a kind demon lord and thanks him for saving their lives. Yukikaze asks for his name and he tells them that he is called Kunai and says that he doesn't need their thanks as he did it to satisfy himself. Seeing Yukikaze fanboy girling at the demon lord, Mikan jumps in and says that she prefers to the Dragonkin guy as he's on the side of justice, but Yukikaze teases her by saying that justice means just ass and that if she's into that she doesn't need to be so shy about that. Back at Artemis, the bar management summons a clown to lighten everyone's mood during this chaotic situation. But it turns out, the clown is actually an assassin in disguise named Kamiya, who was hired by the Satanists to take care of Luna. Luna wonders why Akira is taking so long, but Aku and the other girls tell her to have faith in the demon lord as he has never broken his promises. Just then, the clown walks in and starts praising them. Seeing him, Yu stands up and asks if she can show them all a trick of her own. Hearing this, the clown starts chewing on his handkerchief and jokingly says that he would feel jealous, but then he opens his eyes to see his arms and Yu's hands. He starts panicking and wonders what just happened, and Yu asks if he needs a hand or something. She then instantly puts them back on his body but backwards, which makes him panic even more while Lady Shrimpfree compliments Yu on her unique tricks. With that, Yu takes them off once again and puts them back together, making Kamiya rejoice with happiness. Yu then zooms in and whispers in his ears, telling him to keep his nasty hands off them and to use something more discreet than his fart poison that's in his pockets. She then warns him that if she sees him again, she would cut more than just his arms off, and makes him run away. Meanwhile, back in the city, Queen roams around with her unit captain and they fight a bunch of zombies that were summoned by the Satanists. She takes care of one of the zombie manipulating demons and shows her the finger before Marshall joins them by taking the other demon down as well. On the other hand, Mink and Organ fight a bunch of Satanists as well while protecting the Holy Castle, and we find out that Mink is a strong healer as well. Seeing their men falling left and right, the Satanists decide to summon the strongest devil they can right in front of the Holy Castle and give up their lives, summoning the Prince of Darkness, Oluit. The devil looks at the divine barrier around the castle and clicks that he was summoned in such a troublesome place while looking at Angel walking out to face him from the castle's balcony. She uses her power to expand the barrier, which knocks out most of the lower level demons, but Oluit counters it with his killing field spell, making the barrier shrink back to just around the Holy Castle. At the same time, we see the Satanists' leader, Utopia, sending in a lower level demonkin named Tron to deliver Hades to the Holy Capital to make it engulf everything in darkness. Seeing the high level devil, Queen decides to get serious and she takes out her main weapon, Holy Hammer Sigma. Mink joins her as well with some support spells and Queen jumps towards the devil to strike him down. He blocks her attack, but she forces him to fall down and lets Mink follow up with some attacks using her big plots. Oluit pushes her back and unleashes an energy beam towards Queen, who tries to block it using a barrier spell, but it breaks through and makes her fall back against the barrier surrounding the castle. Mink helps her out as well, but Oluit simply blocks them using his bare fists, showcasing his dominant genes. Just then, Tron arrives on the scene and lets Hades out on the girls, making them lose their divine protection and magical power. Now weakened, they become unable to defend against Oluit's attacks, and he makes them taste some good all-gender equality beating before sending them both back with a darkness energy wave. Seeing them getting their rears whooped makes Angel really worried, but Queen tells her to keep the barrier up, and Oluit decides to test her patience by kicking Queen down and squashing her under his feet. While all of this is happening, we see Akira standing behind the castle's wall as he wonders what he should do in this situation. He wants to stay away from Luna's sisters as he still hasn't researched enough about the Seraph, but he can't let this Wish.com devil hog all the spotlight and put the Holy Maidens down either. Ultimately, he decides to let Zero deal with them and transforms into him. Zero looks around and wonders where he is once again, but then he hears Queen asking for his help and sees her getting bullied by the devil. Acknowledging his presence, Oluit kicks Queen away and asks who he was, while Zero walks up to him and looks him in his eyes. He tells him that he smells like farts and delivers a heavy kick, making Oluit fall on his knees while holding his stomach. Zero then starts beating him hard while teaching him a lesson about not hurting women, and finally breaks his morale by letting him use his darkness wave attack and simply blocking it with his Riz. Feeling overpowered, Oluit looks at Tron and decides to absorb her strength by poking a hole through her chest and sucking her blood. He calls it disgusting but says that it should be enough to heal him back to full. While we see Tron fall down and think back on her miserable life where she got discriminated against because of her being a demonkin, and then getting adopted by the Satanists, who used her for their evil plans. It looks like this is the end for her, but then she hears Zero's voice and opens her eyes to find herself fully healed with Zero's meat in her mouth. He tells her that it is a special full recovery item from the game and then gets up to face Oluit. Seeing this, Oluit decides to transform into his full power mode and becomes a black dog. He rushes forward to attack Zero with all his strength, but Zero counters it using his special move, All or Nothing, and one-shots him into dust, surprising everyone present there. Getting saved by him makes Tron really happy, and she starts hugging him while Queen also jumps in from behind and squeezes him against her massive plots. The next day, Akira decides to go meet Angel to ask her about the Seraph. Angel asks him if he is the demon lord from the legends and what his relationship is with her sister, Luna. He tells her that she can think of him as whomever she wants, and his meeting with Luna was a disaster that was meant to happen, but since they have come a long way and have formed a favorable partnership. Hearing this makes Angel really surprised, and she wonders how Luna can partner up with someone else when she is considered the literal definition of spoiled and selfish brat. She wonders if Akira cast a spell on her and then asks him if he wants to bring harm to her kingdom. Akira says that he likes to speak with actions instead of words and that he will let her judge for herself after seeing his plans come true. He then asks her for a favor and says that he wants to learn more about the Seraph and would like to access her libraries. She wonders if he is planning on invading their kingdom and taking over like some British man, but decides to give him access, and says that she would refrain from talking about the Seraph herself. Akira looks at her shaking hands and says that that is perfectly fine, as he would feel uncomfortable continuing this conversation with someone who's practically trembling in fear, and decides to take his leave. But before he leaves, Angel asks him if he was the one who defeated the Demon King, Grial, and he says that calling him a Demon King would be a massive overstatement, and if anything, he was more like a cheap imitation of one. Hearing this makes Angel really worried, as she realizes that Akira is much stronger than the heroes and demons in their legends. After that, he walks out and checks his skill points and starts laughing like a maniac, feeling happy about getting to farm so many points from his battles last night. He says that now he has enough points to summon another aid plus build the hospital and the hot spring bathhouse and still have some points left to spare. He also unlocks the ability to fast travel to places where he has already been to before and meets up with Aku to give her the good news of them starting their mission of getting flirty rich. He then goes to the library and reads various books on the legend but doesn't find much information on Seraph. He also wonders where the angels from the legends went, as the demons are still present in this world. Aku brings him a storybook about a dog who found treasures in the dungeons and became popular. He asks the librarian if there were actual treasures in the dungeon, and he says that the kingdom has found many magical artifacts and items in them which can be considered treasures. Akira thinks that his body is practically immune to any attacks that were in the game, but he is vulnerable to magical attacks that were not part of the game, so he will have to find some way to defend against them. After that, they both start walking back to their base to meet up with the others. On their way, Akira notices something and tells Aku to go on ahead without him. He then walks into an alleyway and finds Tron following him. She says that she sees everyone in unique colors and can tell that he is actually the same person as Zero. She says that he is her savior and asks him to bring Zero out. At first, Akira tries to get rid of her, but in the end, they make a deal where Akira would let her meet Zero in exchange for her help at his businesses. With that, he takes her back to the base and introduces her to everyone else. Luna seems unhappy with the idea of working with the Demonkin, but Akira tells her to get along as he wants her for his plan to work. After that, he tells everyone to gather around and fast travels to the rabbit village with them. He tells you that he wants to start construction right away, and they walk to a suitable location before summoning their base there. He then uses some of the points to get a hospital upgrade for the base and turns it into a full-on modern medical facility. They both then decide to go inside to see if everything was working fine, and he notes how the electrical appliances were working even though they didn't have any electricity. Akira says that they will have to come up with fair prices for their services as well, and quotes what he thinks is the value of each coin in modern-day yen. He tells you to charge less from the poor locals and to rip off the nobles, as it will help them generate both the favor among the common men as well as wealth to fund their future exploits. After that, he sets up the hot springs bathhouse and decides to have the two most beautiful bunnies called Momo and Kion work there as the receptionists. He also shares his vision about expansion and capitalism with them, making them all creep out at his nefarious plans. With all that taken care of, he starts wondering about whom he shall summon next from the 8 aides of Kunai, and decides upon the man known to be a prodigy who has a severe sister complex and is known to be able to pick up new skills quickly and master them with ease, called Tahara. After summoning him, he walks him inside to fill him in about their current situation. He tells Tahara that they are in a fantasy world that's similar to the Infinity game, but there is no great empire here. Furthermore, there are many new species and phenomena that are unique from the game. He also tells him that they are currently in a village and are planning on completely transforming into a tourist spot, with their main attractions being a hospital, a hot spring resort and bathhouse. He further adds that Yu is there as well, and he wants him to cooperate with her to help him build their new empire. Tahara says that he's much obliged, as if it wasn't for Akira, he and his sister would have turned into food for stray dogs years ago. But then he starts worrying about Yu and calls her a crazy beauty. He also tells him that he's not Doraemon, that he would fulfill all his wishes by pulling out something from his pocket, but Akira says that he believes in him as he's a genius. Just then, Yu jumps in and asks them what they were talking about. The other girls also come to see him and get introduced to Tahara as their new manager. The next morning, Akira goes to the capital to sell a music box to the antique shop guy. He butters him up with lots of praise and mysticism behind the instrument and says that he will let him come up with a good price for the item. The shopkeeper feels pressured and says that the item would sell for at least 15 gold coins and thanks Akira for doing business with him. With this, Akira walks to the boutique and gives them 5 gold coins with a promise of 2 more if they are able to deliver his order in time. He shows them 2 bunny suits and tells them that he will need a bunch of these and asks them to make the delivery to the rabbit village. After that, he goes to the food market and sets up a deal for regular deliveries as well, and in the end he's left with 3 gold coins to spare. With all of this taken care of, he decides that it is about time that he calls Lady Schirmfree there to do some marketing for him in high society. He then goes back to his room at the hotel and practices his character change skill to see if he can control Zero more freely now. He notices how transforming into him makes him more energetic and cringe, but at the same time, his control over him seems to be getting better. It was a character that he created to play the game for over 10 years, and because of that, he shares a really deep connection with him. He then transforms back into Kunai and feels happy with his achievements so far. The next morning, he opens up the bathhouse to the villagers and gets them all cleaned up. After that, he puts them on duty with Tahara being in charge. Tahara trains them all properly in ways of customer service and cleaning duties, and we finally get to see the bunny girls in bunny suits as well. Once things get in motion, Akira invites Lady Schirmfree to visit them. 1 week later, Schirmfree arrives at the village alongside an old man named Commander Sambo. It turns out he used to be a retainer of the great soldier, Marshall, but during one of their battles, a monster took both his eyes and he has been blind ever since. Schirmfree brought him along to show him a good time as he seems to be nearing the end of his life. Upon arrival, Schirmfree compliments Akira on developing this village so much, and he says that he will turn it into a true heaven in a couple weeks and she should come visit them again at that time to get the true taste of their efforts. She says that she will be looking forward to it as he has always delivered on his claims, while referring to the soap that he showed her during the dinner the other day. After that, she introduces him to Sambo, and Akira says that they have a really great doctor there and she may be able to restore his vision. Hearing this, Sambo becomes really excited and he says that he would feel really grateful, and Akira tells Tahara to walk him to the hospital. There, Yu greets them all and then uses her special medicines to see Sambo and heals his eyes with some eye drops, and this makes him start jumping on the hospital bed. Schirmfree tells the old man to go back to his commander and he happily runs away. After that, she offers a Holy Lambda coin as a reward to Yu, which is valued at around $1.5 million. She says that is her way of thanking her for making the old man indebted to her, and tells Yu that they would certainly have a long relationship from this day forth. After this, Akira walks Lady Schirmfree to the bathhouse to show her their variety of baths, hot springs, and saunas. On their way, he tunes in with Luna and finds her dreaming about her childhood. We find out that when Luna was a kid, she was an orphan who used to play a lot with a demi-human boy. They faced a lot of discrimination from the rich and the nobles, but Luna warned them about remembering their names when she will one day become the Holy Maiden. At 8 years of age, she was appointed as one by the Holy Church, but when she tried to get back with her little friend, she found that he was put down by the church as they considered demi-humans impure and unnecessary in this world. This made Luna really sad, but she continued fulfilling her duties as the Holy Maiden until she came across the demi-human village of bunnies and prayed to make them prosperous by letting the church look after their development, but unfortunately it didn't work out because of her selfishness and careless attitude towards ruling her territories. Just then, she hears Akira's voice and wakes up from her dream. He tells her that he is heading her way with the lady and that he will be counting on her. Luna says that she is ready and heads out to greet them. She grabs Madame Schirmfree's hand and takes her into the bathhouse, where they start with a shower accompanied by a soap scrub and hair shampoo session from the bunnies. After that, they go to the carbon dioxide bath, which helps make their skin soft, smooth, and supple. Luna then takes her to the herbal bath, where Madame Schirmfree teases Luna about falling in love with the Demon Lord and tells her to work on her womanly charms if she wants to capture his heart as well. After that, they go to the salt sauna where Luna guides her through the steps, and experiencing all of this makes the madam really excited and she says that she has made up her mind. On the other hand, we see Angel talking to Queen about the news of Madame Schirmfree visiting the rabbit village that was recently renovated by the Demon Lord. Queen asks her why she is so worried about it and if the Demon Lord isn't just one of Luna's pet gooners, but she says that it is a very serious matter and she should be worried as well. Hearing this, Queen says that she remembers meeting Luna in Yahoo City and it looked like she was heads over heels for the Demon Lord. Angel says that nobody cares about love as this is a major crisis for their kingdom. But Queen starts laughing and says that it is really sad that Angel doesn't understand the feeling of love yet, and that she hopes that she finds someone like that one day too, and then starts daydreaming about Zero, making Angel worry about her. Back in the village, Yu walks into one of the rooms and finds Tahara working on the village's map and relocation of some of their facilities. He says that he has already discussed it with the Demon Lord, and she suggests that he take Madame Shrimpfree's suggestion on the matter as well. But hearing this makes Tahara really mad, and he asks her if she has forgotten about the incident in the old Great Empire, and that in a way, this is their new castle, and he can't let any outsider have a say on how they lay it out. This makes Yu realize her mistake, and she apologizes for the thoughtless suggestion, and she says that the Demon Lord has changed in many ways compared to how he was before, but at the same time he retains his unparalleled charm and ambition. She says that despite being a Shotokan, she can't help but only think about the Demon Lord as of late, and Tahara also confirms that he feels happier working for the current Demon Lord and wishes that he never changes. Later that day, Akira goes to the hospital for a routine checkup from Yu, and she tries to play some perverted games with him after confirming that he is in top shape. Akira simply ignores her like a Sigma male and walks out to enjoy their new facilities. Later that night, they have a great dinner followed by a dip in the hot spring. At one point, Tron sneaks in and asks Akira to let her meet Zero, but he tells her to get out and go to the women's section, and then goes to his room to watch some TV. He realizes that they still don't have any cable, and the food also doesn't replenish automatically in the resort like it used to in the Infinity game. However, the supplies and the vending machines still top up on their own daily, so it's not like they are completely in the dumps in that regard. Just then, Aku walks into her room and says that she wants to sleep with him tonight, and they call it a day. Some time later, Luna walks in as well and cozies up next to Akira while saying that she wanted to sleep with Aku but has no other choice as she is already asleep with him. The following morning, Akira gets up early and leaves a letter behind for Aku and Luna, telling them that he will be going out to the capital to do some business, and that they don't need to come behind him as he will be back by nightfall. With that, he goes to the capital to read up more about the Seraph and to get more information on the magical items and armor in the dungeons to protect himself from magical attacks. On his way, he runs into Yukikaze and Mikan and struggles to remember their names. Yukikaze says that he wanted to thank him for saving his life the other day, but Akira says that he doesn't want any repayment as he did it all for himself. He also gets the idea of introducing name cards in this world to help identify people across guilds and businesses, and thinks that this can be another one of their star products from the Rabbit Village. After that, Yukikaze asks him what he has been up to since then and tells him that he has been working on revamping the Rabbit Village and is not going to the Adventurers Guild to get some info about magical items from the dungeons in the north. Yukikaze says that the guild won't be able to provide him information on items and dungeons from outside the country, but he will feel happy to help and invites him to his favorite tavern for some drinks. Once there, they have some snacks and drinks, and Akira quickly realizes that Yukikaze is up to no good with his lewd manners and perverted tricks. He tries to speed up the conversation and asks Mikan about the Adventurers Guild, the dungeons and the items found there, and she fills him in on the basics of the whole system. Akira realizes that the adventurers work like self-employed freelancers who put their lives on the line in hopes of farming items and materials from monsters and dungeons to make some cash. Mikan also mentions that they are currently in a war with the northern regions, which makes it really hard to access the dungeons located there. However, whenever they are in peaceful eras, the economy prospers a lot as craftsmen and adventurers trade across the world and produce high-grade artifacts and items that are sold for hundreds of millions. She tells him that the items made from basic metals are graded as normal, while items with materials from monsters are classified as solids. They are followed by items made from magic and rare materials called high-end items, and they can only be crafted by dwarfs. After them, you have unique grade items that are normally in the possession of S-ranked adventurers, and finally you have legendary items that are held by the Holy Maidens. After hearing all this, Akira decides to go on a journey to the north to find some unique grade items on his own and to see what they were all about, but Yukikaze stops him and says that if he wants to go there, he should take him with him as he is a B-ranked adventurer and would be a great guide. Akira thinks about it for a moment and says that it's a good idea and accepts his offer. Yukikaze drags Mikan in their deal as well, and they all decide to leave for the northern regions once Akira is ready. Meanwhile, we see Angel wishing upon the statue of the Seraph and uses a miracle spell that takes up all the magic in her staff to teleport herself to where Luna is. Once there, she becomes surprised to see so many people working there and gets scolded by Tahara for coming on the work site in a white dress. He tells her to go work up her magic on the light crystals while mistaking her for a person they called in for the job, and she ends up following his orders because he's just that much of an alpha male. She soon runs into Luna and tells her to go back with her, but she gets dragged back to the work site by Tron, and she tells Momo and Kion to show her sister around and tells her to enjoy the bathhouse before running away. With that, Angel starts following the bunnies to the facility while wondering what was even going on here. The bunnies take her to the bathhouse and let her explore the place on her own. At first, Angel becomes really surprised to see such an expansive place, but then she stumbles upon the outside hot spring with Akira bathing in it. She asks him if it was his plan to put her in such a vulnerable position, but he gives her a towel and tells her to get in before she catches a cold, and he gets blamed for that. After that, they both have a long chat about his project and how he told her to see his work and judge for herself. He lets her enjoy the hot spring, gives her some premium Japanese sake, and even gives her a halo because it looks cute on her. After all this, they both walk out and he asks her if she came there by carriage. Angel says that she can't reveal the secret of the Seraph's miracle to him, and he says that it doesn't bother him and takes her back to the Holy Castle using his fast travel skill. Seeing him use the same ability as the Seraph's miracle and how he bestowed a halo to her, she wonders if he really is the demon lord from their legends who was a fallen angel called Lucifer. She asks him who he even was, and he says that he is someone who would be looking forward to her cooperation in near future as he wants to learn more about the Seraph. She asks him why that is, and he reveals that he was summoned to this world by the Ophan and has some questions to ask from the Seraph and never actually meant any harm to them. This makes Angel surprised, and she says that everything now makes sense regarding how he managed to get Luna to follow him and how he was able to perform miracles similar to the Seraph and even bestow halos. With this, Akira teleports back to the village, and Angel thinks that someone like him can't be an evil person and says that she will make sure to one day restore him to his prime glory as a true angel. Back in the village, Akira tells Aku and the girls that he will be going on a long journey and would like for them to stay here and protect the village. He says that he will make sure to pay them a visit every so often using his fast travel skill, and tells them all to behave in his absence, and to do as Yu and Tahara say. With that, he goes to sleep with all of them and wakes up the following morning to say his goodbyes to Tahara and Yu, and tells them that he will be counting on them for managing the village and orders them to protect it at all costs if it were to ever get under attack. With this, he joins up with Yukikaze and Mikan in the carriage and begins his journey towards the city of Rookie, where the prison dungeon is located, and that's how Season 1 of Demon Lord Retry comes to its end.